In today's lesson, we are solidifying our understanding of trig ratios. Okay, so the directions here said we are given this right triangle with all the sides labeled, and they've asked us to figure out all of the trigonometric ratios. Okay, so right here they're telling us your reference is angle A. So once again, in the beginning when I teach this, I like to draw a person to kind of remind me that this is my reference angle. And let's label the sides from my point of view here at this angle. Now the side that never changes, it's always called the hypotenuse because it's the longest side. The leg next to me is our adjacent leg, and the leg away from me or from us is the opposite leg. Okay? So with that being labeled here, let's go and answer the question. So sine of angle A is opposite over hypotenuse, so 6 over 10. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so 8 over 10. Tangent, opposite over adjacent, so 6 over 8. Now right here, they change our reference angle. They're asking us to be at B. So I'm going to draw my person over here. Erase this one because we've moved. Now does that change anything in our picture? And the answer is yes. Okay, let's see here. Well, the hypotenuse, once again, is still the hypotenuse. That never changes. But the legs do. This leg of 6 units is right next to us, so we are going to change that to adjacent. And this side becomes the opposite leg now because it's away from us. Okay, so sine of angle B is 8 over 10, so opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so we have 6 over 10. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so 8 over 6. Okay, this would be a good time to try on your own without proceeding into the video. Answer number 2, so hit pause, try it on your own, and then we'll check the answer here in just a moment. Okay, hopefully you tried it on your own. Okay, so the answers we have for number 2 are as follows. Sine of angle A is A over C. Cosine, we have B over C. Tangent, opposite over adjacent, so A over B. Sine angle B, okay, so now we're over here. We have B over C. Cosine of B, A over C. And lastly, tangent, B over A. Okay, so it changed things. Now, hopefully you saw some patterns here. So I would say pause the video again. Look at the patterns here. What do you notice about the ratios? So think about it for a moment. Okay, hopefully you had some time to think. Here are some things I hope you've noticed. You probably noticed that sine, which is A over C here, is the same thing as cosine of B. Think about it. If I have A over C, well then, with my perspective here, it's the same, two sides being used. So, sine of angle A is the same thing as cosine of angle B. And you would have noticed then that cosine of angle A, B over C, is the same thing as sine of angle B. Okay? One more thing you might have noticed about tangent. Okay? For example, up here, tangent of angle A was 6 over 8. Tangent of angle B is 8 over 6. They are reciprocals. So we can write that tangent of angle A is equal to 1 over tangent of angle B. Okay, here you guys go right here. Okay, I kind of answered some stuff on the back side of this worksheet. I'm going to skip a bunch of the tasks, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to part 3. So find part 3 of your task. Okay, so given a right triangle with the following trigonometric ratio, sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. Find all of the trig ratios for this triangle. How do you know these values are always going to be true when given this angle? Okay, so let's see here. We've got sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. And we know that sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So that's a really big clue to actually draw the diagram. I'm a very visual person, and that is very helpful to look at it. Okay, so if I make this my reference right here, I'm going to label 30 degrees. And since it's opposite over hypotenuse, I'm going to go 1 and then 2 over here. Now they want us to find the rest of the trig ratios. And if we label the sides on here, I know that, once again, this is opposite. Here's my hypotenuse. This is my adjacent. So I got to find this value here. I'll give you a moment. How do we find the third side of a right triangle when I know 2 of those? Hopefully you're screaming out Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so since I'm finding a leg, I'll say leg squared plus 1 squared is 2 squared. And you get L squared equals 3. Square root, we get the length is square root of 3 units. Okay, so let's find all of the ratios. Okay, so we already know sine 30 degrees is 1/2. So cosine of 30 degrees is adjacent over hypotenuse, so root 3 over 2. Tangent of 30 degrees is opposite over adjacent, so 1 over root 3. Now they asked us for all the trig ratios. I think for the sake of time, I think you guys can figure out that if you move over here and write them for 60 degrees following the patterns earlier, we're going to be all good. Alright, now these values will always work. Okay, I'm just going to tell you that right now. They work. Alright, till next time, see you later.